Hello, I'm Catherine. I'm the girl that Sherri Papini recently tried to get a restraining order against. The judge threw it out because it's all bullshit, and I'm making these videos because I think it's disgusting that people have been giving her a platform, and she's still a compulsive, grotesque liar. And she's been lying directly about me and my family, and I'm here to address that. So, give me some forgiveness if I'm a little jumbled. I'm going to try to tell the story chronologically, but it's been going on for almost 10 months now. So if I falter, that's why. It's 10 months of story at this point that I need to share. Okay, so in August of 2024, right after my birthday and right after my dad died, Sherri Papini had moved to our small town, Shingletown, in Northern California. Before she moved up here, or when she moved up here, my partner of 16 years was online writing all this nasty stuff about how he didn't want her here, our town didn't want her, making a bunch of jokes, and just generally being kind of vicious, which I thought was mean and necessary. Personally, I hadn't followed the story. The second a white lady claims to be kidnapped by people of color, my brain shuts off and I automatically assume they're full of shit, and I don't need to concern myself with people like that. So it was not something I followed. He was into it, and I wasn't. So she moves to our small town. She's in a home purchased by her ex-boyfriend, Shaun Hibdon, who used to own auto dealerships around here. She's in a relative mansion for the area, driving a car that Shaun Hibdon bought her, and that's that. And then end of August, my family, we went to a community event. I was the face painter there. My daughter and I come home, and my ex, I'm going to call him Phony so that I don't use his real name and get in trouble. Phony is a big drinker. It's been a problem, especially, no, pretty much forever. So he stayed at the event a lot longer than my kid and I did. There were whispers that Sherri Papini was there. I didn't give two shits and came home. He comes bounding through the door, and he says he's met her, and he's so excited. And he tells me that he went up and introduced himself, and at some point she's like, do you know who I am, or don't you know who I am? And he's like, no, playing dumb, and goes, as far as I know, you're the prettiest girl in Shingletown. And he's telling me this, like, ouch. Literally just a week before this, I had a friend over, which is rare because he doesn't, he made it so I had no friends. And also, no one could come to our house. There's always a reason why he didn't want anyone that I liked coming over. But this one night, I had a friend over. She was doing laundry, and her kids were there. And Tony showed up drunk and hung out with us, and we actually talked about, open relationships. And he went on this long thing about why he would never have an open relationship, and how I had actually brought it up at one point, which I did because our relationship was such a toxic mess that I think I was trying to find solutions, to keep us together for the kids' sake. Dumb me. But, so I'm just saying this because later he goes on to claim that, I think he claimed to her that we weren't together, that we had an open marriage or whatever, but we didn't. And I have, witnesses who actually heard him talking about it saying, no, we didn't. And it was his choice. So, let's see. Okay, so he meets Sherri, he comes home, tells me that he hit on her. I'm my heart's in my stomach and I'm numb, and he says that he's going over to our house to fix a doorknob And and these are his words, that the dumb bitch is giving him $300 to fix a doorknob. And I'm like, is that a good idea? And he goes, oh, yeah. My flooring friend's going to be there, and we might be able to turn it into a bigger job. And I'm like, okay. A couple days later, he goes over there, and he's gone for like 6 to 8 hours. And when he came back, he was relatively sober, which immediately let me know that there was something wrong, because, this guy is a drinker. And the fact that he came home sober after being gone that long, I was just like, oh my God, what's going on? And he proceeds to tell me about how, she's amazing, and she's innocent, and Keith is, oh, hey, guys, don't fight. Come on. We have a stray cat that has tried to adopt us, but he's, hey, calm down. He's just saying hi. He doesn't want to hurt you. Yeah, this stray cat, anyways, has basically made a home of our home. And by the way, I can't afford to feed him. He eats a lot. So if anyone in Shasta County wants to adopt an extremely friendly, all black male cat, I got him neutered. Please let me know, because my cats don't like him, and he is very needy and very lovey, but I can't afford him right now. So, what was my point? Oh, so Sherri Papini, he's telling me that she's innocent, and that she was being beat up by Keith, and that Keith lied about her abusing the kids so that he could get custody. And I was like, abusing the kids? What? I hadn't even heard this part of it, because I hadn't watched any of the documentaries at that point. And then he goes, now she's the victim's advocate. She's been completely exonerated, and when people get kidnapped, the FBI and local police call her in to help out the victim. And that's when I was like, oh my God, what are you talking about? I haven't watched the documentaries, but even I know, she went to jail for fraud, and, for maybe she didn't go to jail for pulling the hoax, but it's been uncovered with the FBI that she hoaxed her kidnapping. So I'm like, what is he talking about? And it got better. And then he talks about how, so she's a victim's advocate. She's pulled in to support victims when they've been kidnapped. And I'm going, Tony, come on. Can you imagine if someone goes through the most harrowing experience of their life, they get kidnapped, they get recovered, and they're like, here's Sherri Papini to help. And I was just like, you can't honestly believe this nonsense. And he was sold hook, line, and sinker. She also told him that she goes to universities and colleges around the world, giving talks in criminology classes about victim blaming and all this stuff. Sorry, what else? Oh, that she, that Eminem included her in a song, and that to apologize for erroneously, sullying her name, he invited her to go on tour with him, and is going to bring her up on stage to dance to the Houdini song every time or something. And then that night, or that day when Phony and her were hanging out, they played the song over and over on repeat, and were dancing to it. And I was just like, what parallel universe have I entered? Bizarro world. This was so, oh my God, I can't even imagine being that pathetic. I just can't. I can't even wrap my head around it. So he's over the moon, and that was the beginning of the end. For the next month, he conducted an open affair with her. He'd see her during the day and at night, and he was lying about where he was, and then he would come home, and he was drinking way more than he ever has, and so he was super drunk, and he would spend hours on the phone with her, on speakerphone, in the master bedroom, sharing a wall with our daughter's room, and so our 10-year-old was listening to him, telling this woman that like he's never felt love like this before, and that sex with her is the most amazing thing, and every time I'd confront him, he'd say, "We're just friends," and then my daughter would, say something like, "Oh, he said, I can't wait to have tummy kisses and butt grabs with you," and I'm like, a 10-year-old can't invent this sort of thing, and he's, he just kind of looks stupid at me, like, "Oh, I can't deny it," like, and then it got to the point where I'm bursting in on them while they're talking and screaming, "Sherri, why can't you find yourself a single guy? Why do you have to go after a married man?" And she'd laugh at me, and then he'd like push me out of the room, and this is relevant because she later claims that we were split up when she met him, and that's total bullshit. She knew that I was in the picture. I was constantly interrupting their conversations, screaming at him, screaming at her, and they didn't care. They just kept having their affair. Things would get bad, and I would lock him out, and he would break back in. At one point, though, I thought it was kind of falling apart. He didn't hear from her for like 3 days, and he was a mess. He's thinking that the documentary crew found out about the stuff he wrote online, or they found out that he's not a real contractor, and all this stuff. And then I guess she finally called him again, and I hear him talking to her saying, "I don't care if you sleep with everybody on the production crew in Los Angeles, as long as you come home to me." And I was just like, oh my God, this is so pathetic and weird. And then I guess she, didn't agree to that or something, because then he got angry, and when he was drunker that night, he's saying, if you drop me, you're gonna lose the best guy you've ever had in your life. And I was like, whoa, flashback, because 2 weeks into dating him, I was trying to break up with him. I knew right off the bat this is not a good guy, and he would gaslight me, and I was so unfamiliar with gaslighting back then that I let it happen. It was like the idea of you get mad at someone because they do something, and then they get mad at you for being mad at them. Like, that kept happening, and I didn't know how to handle it. And every time I tried to end things with him, he'd like overwhelm me with love bombing and pestering and almost stalking, until like I'd kind of let him back in my life. And God, even when I was pregnant, I tried to break up with him, and I told him that I would tell everyone we knew that I cheated on him and the baby wasn't his, just so he could look like the good guy and leave. And he didn't agree to it. He wanted to be there to raise the kid. And that was the biggest mistake I've ever made in my life. I should have left him then and raised her on my own, because it has been downhill fast and furious ever since then. Because he never grew up. He never put on his big boy pants. He couldn't hold a job. He never stopped drinking. He was a decent father until she was about 5, and then once she stopped being like a complete, reflection of him, when she grew her own personality, he checked out. So he's been a pretty crappy parent, and it's been like having an adult child in the home that I have to take care of. I do all the cooking, the cleaning, I pay the rent. That's not true. He paid half the rent, but he'd pay it late. And he got us evicted from the last place because he didn't pay rent for 10 months, and he lied about it to everybody, including me and his parents. And yeah, and so then I go to the eviction proceeding thinking there's been some mistake, and find out, nope, he's been lying for 10 months. And I had to give the landlord every penny I had because I was so ashamed and embarrassed. And anyways, so while he's having his affair with Sherri Papini, we were actually in another eviction. This one was a little bit less our fault because the landlord had mailed our rent check back, and then proceeded to evict us anyways, because she was trying to sell the house and she wanted us out fast. However, I do think that had he not been such an asshole to her, and had he been paying his half of rent on time, She might have let us stay there while she sold the place, but because, I'm dealing with a narcissistic grown child, it didn't work out that way. So he's seeing Sherri. They're on the phone all the time. My daughter is slowly breaking down. She's saying she stopped calling him daddy and was calling him father. And she'd say things like, Mom, can we donate all my toys to a kid who needs them? And I'd be like, that's a nice idea, but why do you want to do that? And she's like, oh, because I lost my imagination. I can't play anymore. Poor baby. And then, another one was, she said that she doesn't feel anymore. She's like, it's great. I don't feel angry or sad. She's like, I don't feel happy or anything anymore. It's wonderful. And that was it. That was my wake-up call. So I call him up and I'm like, you need to put a stop to this. Either you leave us and you pursue something with Sherri, or you commit to the family. No matter what you choose, you have to talk to your kid. Because I've been telling her over and over that everything's going to be okay, and that no matter what he does, he still loves her, and we'll always be friends, and we'll always find a way to be a family. And how dumb was I? Stupid me. I wish I had a glimpse of the future, but okay, so I leave this message for him saying the thing about, you have to choose shit or get off the pot time. And he calls me back and says that, he hears me loud and clear and he's made a decision. And then he came home that night. And I'm sure he actually saw her first, but he said that it was to break up with her and that it was all over. And he was committing to the family, and we spent hours that night talking on the phone, or talking together and crying, and I actually had apologized like a fucking idiot. And by the end of it, he was shit-faced drunk again and chasing me around with his little dick out, trying to get us to fuck, and I'm like, I'm not ready. You've been fucking this other woman all month. Like, I'm not okay with this. And then the very next morning we had to go to court, and we went to court, and I dropped him off in his car, because the only working vehicle we had was his truck at that time. I won't even get into how we lost my car, because I blame him still, and I'm still angry about it. But so I didn't have a car, I didn't have a working computer. Well, I'll get into that when he left. So we go to court, and I honestly thought we had a chance of winning, but it's Shasta County, and we didn't, because she had mailed her rent check back and evicted us, and I thought maybe that I could prove we had paid. It wouldn't work, but we lost, and he wanted to go to a Reading bar after court, and I dropped him off there and took his truck home, and 3 o'clock rolls around, and he's still not home. 4 o'clock, I get a message, and he says that he's crashing at his friend's house, and I wrote back, like, don't come home. Like, I can't believe you think it's okay to stay out after everything we've been through and talked about. And then, a day later, he still hadn't come home, and he called me and screaming. I was at my friend's. His dad's like, he was at his friend's. I'm like, I don't care if he was at his friend's or not. He's been cheating all month. This was his chance to, like, make it up to me, and he stayed gone for 2 nights. Like, I don't care. And then he broke back into the house. Oh, God. And then when he broke in that time, I actually think it was a sleepover. Our daughter was having a sleepover, and he still managed to break in the house. And thank God the girls didn't wake up and get scared over it, but it was a nightmare. Okay, I'm going to take a quick break, and then I'll finish this part of it.